Okay, so President Biden just met with 6 African head of state that are organizing elections slated for next year.
Yeah.
What's the meeting all about?
Well, the meeting was just to share experiences with the United States on elections, and to to encourage the countries to continue with the democratic process. He pointed out that it was really a challenge for all countries, and he said that the areas that the U.S. can support, that they would be willing to support. He singled out Nigeria and Mr. President for praise. He talked about the fact that he was vice president when our president was first elected in 2015, and that they're very heartened that Nigeria is really a model. The fact that at that time it was an opposition party that came into power, and that Mr. President is not seeking a third term, and also that encouraging the Mr. President and the system to be totally non-partisan in the electoral process, and not to impose anybody per se, and recognize that that seems to be the trajectory in which the election is heading in Nigeria. So praise Nigeria as a model, and Mr. President also thanked him for organizing the summit, and also talked about the trajectory of President Biden's own career, and his being able to attain the summit of his country, the presidency, and and also wished him well.
So, what does President Biden's statements about Nigeria signify?
Well, I think it's a recognition of the legacy of Mr. President, which is a non-interference in the electoral processes in Nigeria, and he is seeking to have a level playing field for all political parties, and also his putting in place, which is I think one of his most important legacies, of the electoral laws that that really delivers or can deliver really free, fair elections, and that votes will count and count decisively. So clearly, I think that is what President Biden was acknowledging.
President Buhari has always been talking about organizing free and fair elections in Nigeria. Does that mean that the global community believe him?
Yes, I think clearly that is the case. These countries have their representatives, their ambassadors in Nigeria, and who are seeing that Mr. President has never sought to interfere or to manipulate elections and election results. And of course, this has been seen in the recent past with governorship elections, in which the ruling party candidates have not won, and and Mr. President has welcomed those results, and as the people speaking, and I think the international community now recognizes that he really is a Democrat, not just in words but in action.
So what kind of support will they expect from the United States as they go into election next
Yeah,
year?
President Biden, I think, was talking about the areas, the enabling environment for democracy to flourish. So, things like education, health, and all those quality of life, issues that contributes to a society being prosperous and therefore able to deliver, make the democracy thrive, and job creation, and just the economic support and other aspects, and so he feels that in those areas where the U.S. can support, that they certainly would do so.
So President Biden also addressed the U.S-Africa Business Forum. What are the major takeaways, particularly for Nigeria?
Well, it's that the global partnership. He recognizes that with the African Continental Free Trade Area, that with a young population and with the levels of innovation on the continent, that the U.S. And Africa should develop this partnership, a win-win partnership of trade and investment. And so what Nigeria can, I think, look forward to, if on our side we take the necessary measures with ease of doing business in Nigeria, we can look forward to greater U.S. investment in Nigeria, which is really what we want.